Well, Evelyn done lost her damn mind. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Ajax Reviews. Today we're reviewing Mountaintop Motel Massacre. That's a mouthful. Directed by Jim McMullough Sr., a mentally unstable elderly woman, recently released from a mental asylum, proceeds to slaughter all the guests staying in her motel. So the movie starts off, we see Evelyn, who's outside gardening. She runs across her daughter or granddaughter, doesn't really say, Lori's guinea pig, and she yells for Lori to come get her critter before she cuts its head off. Well, Lori doesn't hear her because she's downstairs having a tea party with her other critters. So Evelyn proceeds to chop off the guinea pig's head, or really to chop it into a million pieces. So as I said before, Lori was downstairs, at least what we think is downstairs. She's actually underground, under the house, having a tea party with goats and rabbits and just whatever kind of fucking animals are under there. And a picture of her dad or grandfather, I don't know which one. Evelyn comes down, starts hearing crazy voices and shit, freaks out, just starts slashing everything with her scythe, and ends up accidentally killing Lori. So we're at the funeral, and we see all these different people who we'll never see again throughout the entire movie, except for the Reverend who's performing the funeral. And Evelyn is hearing every one of these people talk about how crazy she is, but she's just imagining it. So they're trying to transition, show her transition into being a crazy person. Now, I've seen the transition of a crazy person before, and it doesn't work like that. That's not what happens. So, ironically, the same day as the funeral, she gets probably the most guests at her motel as she's ever had before. Starting off with the Reverend who performed the funeral, Reverend Bill McWillie. Yeah, I said that shit right. The second guest is Crenshaw. He's a construction/carpenter worker. I'm not sure exactly what he does. They didn't really go into too much detail with any of these characters. You kind of have to figure it out on your own. He shows up, gets a room.
Ma'am, y'all open? Have you got a vacancy?
$7.
I'm surprised that the rooms are so cheap, even in the 80s. $7 for a fucking motel room? Like, I wish, dude. Then there's Mary and Greg, who are just married and are redneck as fuck. Like, they have to go to a motel to consummate the marriage. Like, don't you guys have a fucking house? Or you're on your honeymoon and a normal motel costs too much? You have to get a $7 motel so y'all could fuck in a dirty ass crack room? Like, I don't understand some of these people, man. I guess rednecks. You have to be a redneck. I don't know. Then we meet Tanya and Prissy. Now, the first time I heard the name, I thought it was Chrissy. And then the second time I heard it, I thought it was something else. But it's Prissy. So we meet Tanya and Prissy, who are two cousins that are aspiring singers, songwriters. And it just so happens that they stumble upon a guy that gives them a ride named Al, who claims to be the owner of Columbia Records.
You girls ever hear of Columbia Records?
How ironic, right? So during this time when all these different people are checking in, Evelyn takes a snake, and when she's screwing with the snake, you hear this like rattlesnake sound, but you look at the snake and you're like, that's not a fucking rattlesnake. Like, I don't understand the sound choices that they made in this movie. But she puts this snake in a bag, goes underground, goes all the way down to Greg and Mary's room, comes up from the bathroom and dumps the snake out and just leaves the bag there and goes back to her merry way. So Greg and Mary are in their room, and Greg's just like, come on, let's just hook this up, man. Like, you know, they've got down before, you know. And Mary's all like, no, I want to make this special. I want to make this. She's in the bathroom screwing around, getting her granny panties on and some other shit. Meantime, Greg's waiting, getting all fucking restless, rolls over, gets bit in the face by the fucking snake. She runs over like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? Bitch, you were going to do some freaky shit tonight anyway. You might as well suck the poison out. At least that way you're sucking something. So after Al, Tanya, and Prissy get their room, Mary finds Al and asks him to find a doctor for her. So he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll take care of this. I'll fucking hook it up. So he calls the police in his car phone, his 1980s car phone. Amazing fucking concept there. Just looking at the phone, I'm just like, I remember people that had that shit. And they were only in certain cars, or if you bought them, there was like 19 wires that came with it. It was fucked up. But anyway, so he ends up calling the police. I was just ranting there. He calls the police, and obviously the sheriff is in a bar getting drunk. So the dispatcher can't get a hold of him just yet. So back inside Al, Tanya, and Prissy's room, I laugh at this because I just think back to the look on Al's face. The two are singing. They're auditioning for him. And he's just sitting there, shirts off. He's under the covers already, just smiling and shit like, I'm gonna get some from this. Like, and they're singing this song, and they're terrible at it. And he's like, oh, that is so good. Like, they're like, is it professional? He's like, oh yeah, I mean, it could use some polishing, but I mean, with the right record producer and the right this and the right that, like, you could be on the next album, blah blah blah. So fucking, which one was it? It was Tanya. Tanya's like, oh, thank you, and then like Prissy just sitting there. He's like, well, you want this to be a solo album? So she runs in the bathroom. She ain't having none of it. So fucking her cousin Tanya goes in there, starts talking to her. She's like, come on, man. It's just, we're taking a chance. Like, if we can screw the dude and he is who he says he is, we score. If not, like, what do you lose? You bang somebody. Now, talking about Al, dude is totally a predator, man. Like, picks up women, gives him a ride, and he starts lying to him, telling him he's a record producer, record exec, or that he owns Columbia Records. Like, he didn't even go for like, I'm a fucking maintenance man at Columbia Records. He's like, I own that shit. It's mine. But totally a fucking predator, man. Like, that's some fucking sick shit right there. So as Prissy's in the bathroom thinking about the decision that she made, Evelyn comes up out of the ground with her corn scythe and slashes her across the face. And she dies in the bathroom. And then she just takes her and brings her down to the underground tunnel, and yeah, that's it. So now is about the time that Al and Tanya stop kissing long enough to go check on Prissy. So they check on Prissy. They open the door. She's not there, but there's blood everywhere. So now Tanya's like, oh my God, where's she at? And he's like, oh, get fuck back. I'll check it out. So he's walking around in this tiny ass bathroom looking for her, like moving little shower curtains and shit, looking for Prissy, and she's nowhere to be found. So then we cut back to Evelyn, who's now putting rats into the Reverend's room. So, yeah. So then we go into Crenshaw's room where he's sleeping. Evelyn dumps cockroaches in there. Now, I don't know if they were trying to say something in this movie. I caught it, and my fiance caught it, and I think my other friend caught it. We were all watching it together. They put roaches in a room with the black dude, and then the black dude is just like, whatever, to the cockroaches, just nonchalant. Like, what are you guys trying to say? Whatever. So as Al comes out of his room, Crenshaw's coming out of his room. They fucking stop each other. They're talking, and Al's like, dude, we're missing somebody. She's gone, blah, 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 blah. And Crenshaw's like, well, didn't you lock your door? And he's like, could have swore I locked my door. Now, just stop right there. You were in this room. It's only one room. It's like a fucking bedroom and then a bathroom. If your front door is locked and you're making out with a girl and you didn't see anybody come or go, it doesn't matter if your front door's locked. Nobody came in the fucking, like, you're going to notice somebody coming in the goddamn door. Don't be like, I could have swore I had locked the door. I could have swore you were making out with chick, but I mean, like, if somebody would have interrupted, you would have known that shit. Just saying. So everybody decides to work together to try to figure out what the hell's going on. Right about now, I want to remind you guys, if you like the content on the channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'm always down to talk to you guys in the comments, man. Let's talk movies. Let's talk whatever. Let's just talk. Let's just bullshit. I have fun doing that shit with you guys. So make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends as well. So now is like my favorite part of the movie. Crenshaw's just in the room talking to himself. He's like, no way, Jose. I ain't fucking staying here no more. I'll go sleep in the truck. Like, he's just talking. And he's making sense, man. He's preaching that shit, and he's making sense, but it's funny because he's talking to himself. Like, he just drops everything to go take a shit. Like, I'm going to leave this place. I paid $7. I paid to take a shit. Whatever. So he's sitting on the toilet, and Evelyn starts to come up, and he's like, what the hell? So he figures out right at that point what the hell's going on. So he steps on the damn thing, gets one nail, and hits the corner and nails it in and keeps Evelyn from coming in. So then he runs out and starts telling everybody, hey, man, I know how she's getting in. Actually, he doesn't tell anybody. He tells Al. I know how she's getting in, blah, 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 blah. So they're going around and nailing fucking hatches closed and shit. And then they run out of nails when they get to Greg and Mary's room. And they just put a dresser on top of that shit. Like that. It's empty. It doesn't weigh shit. But that's what they do. So they end up going and they're still looking around and trying to find Evelyn. Meanwhile, during this time, Evelyn is able to get through the hatch in Greg and Mary's room, walks in, comes from behind, kills Mary across the face, fucks her up with the scythe. Greg wakes up. He's laying there looking like he's got a big ass pimple on his face. Like, pop that shit, bro. He's just like, and she wails him, fucking cuts his throat, and he dies instantly. Like, a little bit of blood in his throat, but like, I don't know. So now Al and Crenshaw are hunting for Evelyn in the underground tunnels. Now, the way these tunnels are built, it goes from the main house all the way down in a line with little hatches in between. Now, how fucking hard is it to find an old ass lady in a skinny ass tunnel? Like, they're hunting for her. They separate. Like, how do you separate in a tunnel? In a tunnel that goes in a straight line? Don't know. Anyways, they separate. They go hunting for Evelyn. And she's able to hide from them. So as they're split up, Crenshaw's by himself. She pops out. Evelyn pops out. Cuts off his hand. He's like, ah! Fucking, Ash style. And she just right across the face with the scythe kills him. So they're going to end to a cool-ass character. Why is Al still alive? At least Crenshaw didn't die first. I mean, this is the 80s. So the sheriff finally shows up. He finds Tanya sitting inside of Al's car. She's all freaked out. He fucking is like, oh, get out of here. Get out of here. Let's whatever. She shows him the tunnels. He goes down into the tunnels, finds Evelyn, and kills her. Now, her death was kind of meh. Literally, she was kicking his ass. Like, she came down with the scythe. It got stuck in a beam. They're fighting. She's like kicking the shit out of him. And then the beam falls and gets her in the throat. Like, that was her death. Like, anticlimactic as shit right there. Now it's time for some of the things that I liked. This was just your basic 80s horror movie. Nothing really special about it. It was interesting with the underground tunnels. It seems like I've seen that somewhere before. And I think that the writers of the Friday the 13th remake may be fans of this movie, and I think they might start writing some royalty checks out because they straight up ripped this shit off. So what did I dislike about this movie? Well, even though it was an interesting concept, it lacked. It had so much potential to be something so much more with the underground tunnels and the motel and the crazy bitch going nuts. And just, I mean, there was so much potential there. They just did not capitalize on it. The kills not only lacked visually, but they lacked even with sound. When Prissy gets killed, you don't hear any like noise of like her getting killed, her hitting the wall, a scream, fucking nothing. You don't hear anything. It's just like fucking done. So it lacked visually and audibly. Another thing I didn't really like is Evelyn's transition into a full-blown psychopath. Like, when Crenshaw comes in to get a room, she's just standing there. And he's like, can I get a room? $7. Like, that's not how people act. That's not how people go, and it just wasn't believable. So, and the main thing that I disliked is that Al survived. Dude is a sex offender, man. He's a predator. Dude, he picked these girls up in the middle of nowhere, fucking took them to a motel, lied to them, tried to get some ass from them. I mean, yeah, in the end, he does kind of not really save the day. The sheriff kind of did that. He was just running around underground. I don't even know where the fuck he went. But then he just shows up and he's like the hero and shit. No, man, I hated that. Right about now, guys, I want to throw a shout out to my nephew who's also on YouTube. His name is Calionfiregaming. Make sure to check him out, as well as his boy, It's Money. They go on there, they play some Battlefield and some other shit. So check them out, man. Really cool shit to watch. So in conclusion, when I first saw this movie years ago, I enjoyed the hell out of it. But watching it now, I just enjoy trashing it. The characters weren't likable, except for Crenshaw. He was the only one that I liked. Al was just, I mean, I could have done without him. He could have died first and I'd have been happy as shit. Would I recommend this movie? For nostalgia reasons, I would. For entertainment and joy, not a chance. Like, if this is something, if you want to have a good movie night and you want to watch a good movie, don't watch this. If you want to hang out with your friends and you want to, like, make fun of some shit, this is the perfect movie to do that too. So, with that being said, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for me, man. Until next time, stay smart, stay clean, keep the dream. Don't let the man get you down, because if he does, he might pop up through your hatch and stick a snake in... What? Later.